Right now on the Northwestern News Report, students across the country are asking for cuts to tuition.
For them to say that they don't have the funds to support students in this time of crisis is just absolutely ridiculous.
Plus, Northwestern's budget meets the pandemic, how administrators are responding. It's your news from my mom's house right now. Welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Zach Miller. The economic crisis that has ensued as a result of COVID-19 has made national headlines, and college campuses are feeling the heat. We begin today with a look at the turmoil over tuition. At Northwestern and around the nation, there are demands for tuition decreases, especially if courses remain remote in the fall. NNN's Justin Sweetwood has more.
Today marks the start of week 5 for Northwestern's fully virtual spring quarter, but while the student experience has changed, the price of tuition remains the same. Here and at colleges and universities across the country, students have spoken up, arguing this is not the kind of learning they signed up for.
At Northwestern, nearly 5,000 people have signed an online petition calling for a tuition and fees reduction, citing, quote, hundreds of hours lost of in-person learning. University President Morton Shapiro has been skeptical of virtual learning in the past. In his 2015 book, co-edited by Professor Gary Saul-Morson, he argued that an online format could enhance but should not replace the in-person learning experience, saying many classes, quote, will require presence. For the student and professor, it will be important to put oneself on the spot in all senses with someone who is actually there. I reached out to President Shapiro for comment, but he provided none, aside from saying he was, quote, amazed someone read that book.
Now, the university has provided more than $1.5 million to students from the COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund. Northwestern does have an $11 billion endowment, but President Shapiro explained that these funds are often, quote, restricted for specific purposes.
A South Carolina-based law firm filed around a dozen class action lawsuits against colleges and universities, beginning with Drexel and the University of Miami.
We set up collegerefund2020.com. We've at this point had hundreds of inquiries from students, and we're currently investigating dozens of cases.
Willie's rationale for the refund? Students are not getting what they signed up for.
You know, if you go to the steakhouse down the road and order a prime rib and they charge you for it and you prepay for it and then they bring you a peanut butter sandwich, nobody would make the argument credibly that you're not entitled to some sort of a refund. Yes, they are both food, but it's not the same food and certainly doesn't have the same value.
At the University of Chicago, students from the group Use Chicago for Fair Tuition held a rally outside of University President Robert Zimmer's home after releasing a set of 5 demands, one of which being a 50% reduction in tuition.
For them to say that they don't have the funds to support students in this time of crisis is just absolutely ridiculous.
Addie says at least 200 students have withheld tuition payments that were due on April 29th, as her group argues that the university has the means to relieve students' financial concerns. Only a handful of institutions across the country have decided to waive spring tuition entirely, one of them being Lee College in Baytown, Texas.
While our students and communities are hurting, I think we need to be innovative. And so I keep telling people that the pandemic may be in our way, but we have to innovate around it.
Lee College used more than $2 million in federal stimulus money from the CARES Act in order to cover the cost. Northwestern decided not to accept more than $8.5 million it was set to receive from the act, following the likes of other wealthy institutions around the country. The price of spring quarter tuition remains $18,744.
Thanks, Justin. As students make the argument for reducing tuition, Northwestern administrators are grappling with the budget. The pandemic has been costly for Northwestern after the university announced it would transition to online classes in early March. Since that announcement, much has changed on the ground. Dorms on campus stand nearly empty, costing the university more than $25 million in refunds and lost revenue. In an email to students, President Shapiro outlined several other areas where funding has taken a hit, including increased financial support for students, a reduction in endowment payouts caused by investment losses, and the cancellation of on-campus courses and programs. And this Monday, in a follow-up email, Shapiro estimated the university would face a budget shortfall of roughly $90 million for the 2020 fiscal year.
Many colleges and universities, in fact, most of us, are hemorrhaging revenues. And if the students don't come back in person in the fall, it's going to be much, much worse.
These losses are causing headaches right now, but the worst could be ahead of us. In his first email, Shapiro also warned that in the future, Northwestern could face more losses from declines in philanthropy, research funding, and enrollment, both in classes and athletic programs. This could have a large impact. In 2019, Northwestern reported taking in $236 million in private gifts, and an additional $696 million in grants and contracts. Together, these make up over a third of the money coming in. With these risks in mind, Shapiro announced that Northwestern will suspend retirement contributions and impose pay cuts on some of the school's highest paid leaders. He also announced that the university will furlough some 250 staff and increase the payout of the school's endowment, 2 steps Shapiro previously said Northwestern would try to avoid.
Value of endowment that you take to spend to support the current generation of students, faculty, and staff, which is supposed to be 5.0% for us. An extra percentage points, $100 million.
This blow to the budget is still developing, and in the coming months we will be back with updates as the full impact of coronavirus becomes clearer. That's all the time we have for tonight. For all of us at NNN, I'm Zach Miller. Stay safe and stay informed.